Here's the thing most people scroll straight past about Spider-Man. He was born on a comic page, originally appearing in 1962. Ink, paper, panels. And when I watched the new Brand New Day trailer, I couldn't stop noticing that the people who shot it never forgot that either. Watch how they frame a swing. It reads like a comic panel, and that just happens to be moving. So in this video, I'm going to dig into the trailer, pull apart what's real in camera stunt versus what's a camera graphic, and show you how that panel thinking is holding the whole thing together. Hello, if you're new, I'm Kim. I'm an animator. I just kind of make comics on the side. So this framing stuff is the thing I genuinely can't switch off. If you appreciate this sort of content, flip that like button. All right, let's go. Since there's an awesome amount of material around Spider-Man now with the trailers released plus a bunch of behind the scenes footage, since there's a bunch of Spider-Man stuff available for Brand New Day, I'm going to pull together some shots out of the trailers and a bit of the behind the scenes footage and break down what's going on. Let's get into it. This scene's got a couple of really good things going for it. The first is that it is broken up into 3 different depths and they're really clearly defined. The first is the foreground elephant? Yes, the elephant in the front room. The first is the foreground element. You've got Spider-Man clearly in the front here. He's the closest to camera. And then we've got the midground element, which is the helicopter back in here. And that's just doing its thing over on this side. But then the background element, which is really cool back here. So all the way in the background, we've actually got this big blurred out thing way back there. Now, what's really good about the way that this shot has been set up is that all these elements actually work really, really well together. So I'm going to go back here, going to drop in an onion skin and just have a quick look at this third. So we're going to put the color, the third on that side. Might actually use, I like red better. There we go. We'll put this little mark here on the third, on this 1/3. And then as we actually scrub through this shot, you'll see that on the first part, everything actually rotates around on this third. So Spider-Man in this first shot stays within this third of the shot. Even though we run all the way through this shot, he actually stays on that third. So it's the background, when you look at the background, it's the background that's actually doing all the moving. The midground is doing its own move, it's coming up in the shot, but Spider-Man, the main focus of what the whole shot is, stays on that third. And as we move through the next couple of shots as well, as he comes off, he's still on that, between the cut, he stays in the same spot. So it's easy to follow where his action is because he stays on the same third. He turns over and he's still on the third at the end of the shot. As we rotate round, you look at what the next main point of the action is these guys in the helicopter. And they're sitting in the same spot on the third on that side. And as we come through the last one, through the last shot, Spider-Man starts on the third. But the other thing I want to just pick out, especially about this shot, I love this shot's really nice, is we've actually got distinct elements or shapes or frames inside the frame, which is going to help show our traversing through the shot. So Spider-Man starts on one side, he jumps into the square, jumps out of the square, and then we've got circles which are around down here. So the framing of the circles is happening and he jumps through them. So he's moving through stuff and in depth. And then we also get this big green color at the back here. So you can really see that there's movement through this, but Spider-Man in himself has not really moved through frame. He has progressed a little bit through frame. So he's gone from the third across to the other half, but he's only moved in frame. The camera's moving with him, but most of the movement is achieved through the background. And the background's got some beautiful clear shapes that he's traveling over. It's a really beautiful set of shots put together. All right, on to the next one. The next one I've got is just 2 shots which are really nicely done in the trailers as well. So what I'm going to pull out about this sequence is 2 things really quickly. The first one is contrast. Spider-Man being red and blue is a really contrasting color to what we've got in the background, which is very much grays. So if you look at the background, even though there's a patch of green over here, it's not a real strong green. It's a very washed out green, and all the gray is very much a gray color. So Spider-Man being red stands out. And the other thing I want to point out for this particular sequence is center frame. So if we actually look at center frame here, everything that all the action that we're actually trying to track is going to be very close to center frame, which makes it really easy for our eye to follow the action. So just through center frame as we go, you watch as we slide across. Spider-Man has moved just slightly from one side of center frame to the other side of center frame. He's come across here. But then you can also see now he's got some action happening here. His eyes are looking off in this direction. We've also got that web which is coming across from this direction. So he's starting to change direction, but he's still really close to that center. And as he moves along, he's distinctly going that way through the center. And the other thing which has happened, which is really nice, is they've introduced this extra color, real bright spark or a hot spot for our eye to follow. As we jump across between the cut, and see that we can still follow the action because the action is still traveling in the same direction we had before. Just still, as he changed direction before, he's now jumping across the screen. So we can see the line of action, and the eye can follow what's going on. And the other thing, really cool, again, he's bright red with this really big hot spot here. And they're all going one direction, but the background is very much this gray. Even when we're looking up at the sky, it's not really bright, clear blue. It's definitely got that gray feel. So really the background is very much all mixed together. But the colors of Spider-Man really pick out where he is. So as we end the sequence, we started off center frame. He jumped from one side of center frame to the other side and then back again. But he's still, all the action or the key points for this sequence was all mapped around that center frame. Quick break, because this is the same problem I'm wrestling with right now. I'm building my own graphic novel. It's called Dark Angel. And every single page is me deciding how to frame a moment so that your eye goes where I want it to. So it tells the story. If you want to see the actual process I use to get from script to finished page, here's a link below or up in the corner. Right, back to the trailer. Composition and frames within frames make composition stand out really, really well. The first thing you kind of notice with this one is the character's upside down. He's got a clear silhouette, which is happening here, which is beautiful, that he's dark against this bright spot of light. And that clear framing within this other frame we've got here, which is the window, which is where the light's coming from, makes it really easy to see the character. Now, inside of that, we've also got this puddle of water, which is kind of gives you another bit of a frame inside a frame with all the rubble on the outside of it. And it's also very calm in that water. So the whole image itself is still really clear. The first thing you notice is it's upside down, and then you can still clearly see what it actually is. As we scroll through this particular sequence, the first thing that happens is we get that little vibration of the water, which breaks the image. It's no longer a clear, still image. It's all broken up. And then the last thing which really adds to this is the hot spot of sparks that comes in over top and blows out everything. So it really grabs your attention that, well, these hot sparks really just light everything up. And it's just those simple three little elements that come together that make that shot look amazing. This little collection of shots I've got here, I'm just going to peel on this one and just talk about this before we run through the whole lot. What I really like about this is they've gone very much into thinking about the colors. If you look at the backgrounds in this one, the background is very much set in this green. It's a green color. Green and red are opposites on the color wheel. So, but greens in the background with these very strong, distinctive lines. Now, the lines usually lead you around into having different boxes for these characters to actually play in. If you look, Spider-Man is in one box over here, and then you got the other guys are in their own little box over on this side. The other thing which they do here is actual shapes for when they move, which is really nice to see too. But Spider-Man's definitely got his distinctive Spider-Man shape, which is really clear because it's an incredibly uncomfortable shape for him to actually be into. And then as these guys, as a group of them, actually form another beautiful shape which puts an arrow towards where they're heading. So between the colors, the foreground, the shapes in the background, so you've got the frames inside of frames, and the two clear distinctive shapes in the foreground, this becomes a beautiful framing. And just as we scroll through, or as we run through these particular shots, just keep your eyes on the red and the green, contradictory. These guys have beautiful lines of action. Again, all the leading lines in this will lead you up to the top. But reds against greens, just the way these shots lead together is beautiful. What I've really enjoyed about Spider-Man now is all the behind the scenes stuff which they have included. Like, you get to see the camera, you get to see all the wires which are going, you get to see the crash mats that everyone's actually working with and how they're pulling these shots together. You get to see the big camera rigs. This particular shot's really, really cool for a breakdown and analysis between this one and the next one. But in here, you can actually see the wires which they're using on top of Spider-Man to actually help him get that he's swinging. The two things which I am going to point out which are different to what most people probably would notice is the blue rig they've got here. So why is it bright blue? Well, the reason that these are bright blue is because it's easier to key out a blue color when it's bright and clear like that. It's an easy color that's not easy, no, it's an easy to spot color that's not easily available in nature. Bright blue like that is not a distinct natural color. It's easier for someone who's comping afterwards to come in and go, okay, we need to get rid of that blue, and they can pick it and take it out. The other thing I'm going to highlight while I'm on this one is the crew down here. So there's 1, 2, 3 guys underneath this boom. And what these guys are doing is actually, this is where all their cables are coming from. So Spider-Man is on a rig, but these guys down here are actually helping control him as he flies through the air. This is really clear in this shot. So you've got the one guy here who's actually driving the camera rig and using the controls on the camera to capture the film footage. You've got the guys up the front here, all very well harnessed in on the back of a truck while they're moving along, but they're actually driving Spider-Man's actions on this big blue rig which he's on here. So this big massive rig we can see that he's swinging off of. The other thing which I really like, which is behind the scenes stuff which you don't usually see, sure, he's usually swinging over top of tank, and there's the top of the tank there which he's swinging over, but the tank itself is actually just mounted on the back of the truck. So when it comes to the film kind of coming back and forwards, I will only see this bit, but it'll just beautifully kind of all connected together. The pivot points for the shot are all kind of linked so that they can control what's coming across. I think this is really nice to be able to see this stuff behind the scenes. And then the discussions which have come around of going, oh yes, very much practical effects. Here's a great way of seeing that all come together. You've got your distinct Spider-Man swinging from his, well, now you can actually see it even more that they've got it back here, the rig that he's set up on. You've got your control crew down here swinging Spider-Man with 3 different cables which control where he's at, so they'd have to coordinate who's pulling what to get him to swing. Then you've got your cameraman here who's driving the camera to get this stuff. And then right in the background, you've got your practical explosion.
This is all comes together really, really nicely. This is what's great about having a good base plate, because with a practical explosion, it's easier to build your virtual effects around it to help it make it look bigger, but the base of it is already there. I wanted to include this shot, even though it's not an action shot. It's a lot more about actually using the camera to help tell a story. This one comes through very much about reveals and actually being able to use camera movement and the movement of characters to expose a reveal. So let's just scroll along through this. Obviously, he's getting driven. The camera's motivated by Spider-Man's movement there, but the movement is to reveal the character that's down in the bed here. So we've come around, we've swung the camera around following Spider-Man's turn as he's turned around. We've swung around and we've actually revealed this character, which is a nice way of bringing him into the shot. And then as it continues on, he's dropped this thing and it's dropped out of shot. And before it's completely gone, you see it's only just there, we cut away and then it's completely broken. Now you could say, yes, this is a really cool metaphorical thing now that all his hopes and dreams which he's had about who Spider-Man was is now getting shattered into a million pieces, which is all about what this reveal is telling us. And as it's broken, I really like this. We come with an empty frame. We haven't got anything in it. Empty frame, and the character pops up. I really like that. It's actually getting him to come into it. We haven't framed him. He's actually come up into the shot, which is really nice. The last one I want to touch on here, because they have given us the behind the scenes to this, which is really nice to know. You go, oh yes, they might say there's absolutely no digital effects in here, but here's one it's a simple little effect to kind of know. But here we see Spider-Man pulling down his mask. Mask is on. And he falls off. I love how it's got a seam. I always love how it's always seamless here when it joins up. And it's such a beautiful thing to see. It's just like, oh, yep, there it is. He's got his mask and he falls off. And off he goes. And here's the the scenes footage for this. Oh, look at that. His mask is still on top of his head before he falls off. Cool. So there is distinctly, and there's a blue. Most of the time you get a grey muffle on your microphone or a black muffle on the microphone. Here it's blue, which is nice. But it's really good to see these shots. As it is, it's now a final shot. You can see it. And there's some of the behind the scene footage of actually seeing what they used to put that shot together. There is discussion about how cool the new Spider-Man suit is. They've gone through with being something that's not complete latex this time. So it's not easy to hide. It flaps, it folds. It's actually a lot more about Spider-Man returning to his roots of being a scrounger and being able to make things the way that he does, rather than being the tech wizard that Stark made him with his mech suits. It's about Spider-Man returning to him being more of the city ground based character, which is really exciting. But the things that's kind of afforded them when you watch this is that the suit kind of flaps in the breeze. So when you're watching it, you kind of see that it's kind of flapping along as he's actually flying along. And when he gets hit, you can see all the wrinkles and the creases and in the fabric. So it's not as complete, clean, clingy body suit. It's actually a more grounded fabric suit this time, about bringing that character to life. It was an added layer they actually consciously thought of.
So that's the trailer. What do you think? From my viewpoint, this is going to be a fun ride, but let me know what you think down in the comments. And if you want to watch me actually build a page from nothing, panel by panel in a graphic novel style, I made a video walkthrough of exactly that on Dark Angel. You can check that out right now. Thanks for building this one with me. I'll see you on the next page.